So here's a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you taste without swallowing?
Yeah, I spit all the time. Yeah.
So you can taste it.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like I never register unless all this stuff sounds vaguely sexual to me. I feel like I feel like I never register anything until like I swallow.
The Fred Minnick Show is brought to you by 291 Colorado Whiskey and by Michter's American Whiskeys.
With one foot in the real world and the other in a charmed dimension of his own making, Amos Lee creates the rare kind of music that's emotionally raw yet touched with a certain magical quality. On his 8th album, Dreamland, the Philadelphia-born singer-songwriter intimately documents his real-world struggles. Alienation, anxiety, loneliness, and despair. An outpouring born from deliberate and often painful self-examination. Today on The Fred Minnick Show, Amos Lee and I talk about mental health, his new album Dreamland, and a whole lot in between. What was scheduled to be a 45-minute chat turned into a lengthy, nearly 2-hour conversation that could have very well solved the world problems. Perhaps it was what was in the glass. This was Amos' first drink of bourbon in a decade. Now, he wasn't sober, but you'll learn why he couldn't drink whiskey here in a minute. I reintroduced him to bourbon with a sip of Michter's 10-year-old, taught him how to taste again, and the rest of the whiskey was blind. Here are the glasses. Get your pen, especially if you want to taste along. Glass A was an Angel's Envy Rye. Glass B was Liberty Pole Corn Whiskey, and Glass C was Larceny Barrel Proof C921. Those whiskeys and the Michters brought forth a lot of great conversation. So grab a glass and sip along with us. I'm Fred Minnick. Cheers. And joining the Fred Minnick Show, Amos Lee booked you in Bourbon and Beyond 2017, the inaugural one. How you doing, man? You doing all right?
Feeling good, feeling great, Fred.
Today is a very, very special day. It is the drop of your 8th album, Dreamland. What's it been like? What do you do on an album drop date? Do you have like a routine? Are you nervous? What's it like?
So when I was younger, which I think both of us can relate to that statement. When I was younger, it was busier, you know, like back in the day when I would release a record, you'd almost always be on tour, or you'd have a TV lined up, or you'd be going to play, like, I'm old enough that we played at Tower Records on release days. So, I mean, nowadays it's like the record's been half out already for like a week. Or 2 weeks or whatever. So I'm a creature of routine. I do basically the same thing every single day. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't that different. I did a couple things online. I got some amazing texts from like my mom and my friends and my dad and all that stuff, who are just like the most supportive people. Me, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I'm old. I'm washed up. Who gives a shit? No one cares anymore.
Whatever. I mean, Worry No More hit number 6 on the billboards. You know, I mean, that's a great song. And I got to tell you too, like the line in there, Worry No More. There's an open door for you, man. That, like, you know, music is meant to like help people. And I heard that at a time when I really needed to hear it. You know, I'm, you know, you're very open about battling depression and your anxiety. I am too. I mean, I'm an Iraq vet, and I've fought through the trenches to have a normal life again, through PTSD, and some of that's resurfaced in the last 6 months. And you know, when I heard those lyrics, even before we started talking about like getting you on the podcast, I mean, that kind of became like an inspiration for me, you know, so that's what that song personally meant to me.
That's awesome, man. And I mean, I've done some stuff in the past with Wounded Warriors, and
That's
I've been to
awesome.
Walter Reed. I actually played at Walter Reed in 2008, and man, that was one of the heaviest experiences of my life. I actually met and you're in Kentucky, right?
That's right. Yep.
I met a kid from Kentucky there who was with his mom, and I mean, he was not doing well. He was really not doing well, and his mom was with him in his rehab. It was the rehabilitation center. There's like a rehab room there, and I went and I wrote a song for him, and just the whole experience. It's on my Mission Bell album. It's called "Out of the Cold." And, I think about that experience a lot. Yeah, if you want to go back and listen to it, maybe you'll dig it or not. But I have my dad's a Marine. A lot of my family tried to get into the military, but they were rejected. Which is, I don't know why that's funny to me, but it is.
I mean, when people normally get rejected from the military, there's usually there's something there because they take most of us.
It's definitely there. So, yeah, man, I get it, dude, and I'm glad. I'm really glad that song has touched you in that way, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you for all you've done, and that you're fighting through, and that you're having me on, and just that you're kicking ass. So, thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. And you know what? A technique that helped me find my career was mindfulness. And that's how I became a professional taster, was when I was in therapy. And I was introduced to taste mindfulness in my cognitive behavioral therapy process. And it really flipped a switch for me. And it helped me connect things with my palate. And I'd always had kind of a gift of smelling. And I was able to piece those two things together, and I became a taster, and so the tasting that we'll do here today, it's blind, but I'm gonna teach you how to taste first on the Michter's bottle that I sent you, the 10-year-old there, and you had told me before we went on air it's been about a decade since you've had bourbon.
Yeah, and I love bourbon. I love rye, I love Scotch, but I had in 2013 or something like that, I had this really bad case of GERD. And I don't know if you ever had reflux shit. Again, I'm old. So, and also I sing. So all that shit gets weird. And I just couldn't drink whiskey for 2 years. And so I just kind of slid away from it for a while and drank other stuff. But now I'm good. So I've sort of fixed that problem. I don't know how I did it, but I did somehow. So, but I'm excited, man. Yeah, this was I was actually going to buy a bottle of bourbon 3 months ago. And then I got an email saying that I might come on this podcast, and I listened to it. I was like, nah, I'm fucking waiting. I'm just going to wait. Am I allowed to curse on here?
We cuss a lot. I have no idea why cussing is such a bad thing.
It's just weird, but I don't know if you have a very young child audience who likes to drink whiskey.
I occasionally get a letter from someone that, or an email, not a letter, an email from someone or a message saying I have my kids in the car and you say fuck way too much. Right. I have to stop listening to you. I'm like, dude, you're listening to a whiskey podcast with your kids in the car. I mean,
earmuffs. Also, they probably will hear that word 8 million times before they're 15.
Yeah,
I think it's okay. I think it's cool.
And I want to live in a world where my kid will not get in trouble for saying the F-bomb at school. I mean, I just do. Because it can be used as, it's a form of expression.
It fucking is.
Fucking A. So Amos, let us begin. Go ahead and pour yourself a little bit of that Michter's there, and then after the training, you're a former teacher, so you're going to be the student in this moment here. I'm going to be training you how to taste. So just pour yourself a little bit of that out of that bottle.
How much do I pour?
You're going to be reusing that glass, so just a little bit. So like
that.
That's plenty.
Just a little drip.
Yeah, that's
okay,
plenty.
Cool.
So one of the what I do with bourbon, I go through a 4-step process. It's a 5-step process if I'm talking more about, the spirit and how it's made. I'll do that a little bit here, but here we're going to really focus on a 4-step process that begins with analyzing the color. When bourbon goes into the barrel, it is as clear as the water from your tap. So every single day it's in that wood. It goes into a new charred oak barrel. It's moving in and out of the wood, and the wood is charred. And so what that does is that basically sugarizes a lot of the wood, activates the wood sugars that are in there, and much like hickory or cherry wood will amplify meat in a barbecue pit. The barrel is where it gets the majority of its flavor and all of its color. And so looking at a bourbon before you even smell it, that's kind of like looking at an album cover. I mean, look, this is your 8th album. You've done a live album. You've no doubt went through a lot of, artistic cover work. And so in your mind, exactly, the art you want for your music. And, some musicians get art that's better than their music, and some musicians get, art that doesn't even come close to how good their music is. And so for us, like the color is an indication of what is to come. You can tell by looking at it, like how old it probably is. The darker it is, the older it is, higher the proof. And so that's kind of where we begin. And we, swirled around a little bit, kind of just analyze those legs as they're dripping down, and you look at the clarity. Sometimes you'll see like a little like a white cloudy wave. That's not a default or anything. That's just a process in the whiskey where they don't do a particular type of filtration called chill filtration. So that's those are like fatty acids like flocking together inside the whiskey. Not happening here with that one, but sometimes you'll see that. And so you take a look at that. I mean, it's just a beautiful color. Russet, amber, really nice.
Yeah, it is really beautiful.
And then when we bring it to our nose, you bring it to your nose, and when you smell, you want to smell with your mouth open. By smelling with your mouth open, you are actually relaxing your olfactory, and you're able to pick up more than just the alcohol fumes. And both nostrils work differently. So your right nostril will work differently than your left nostril. And so you go from side to side. And you'll notice that you can smell, you'll smell an overwhelming amount of sweetness on one side and like spicy kind of savory stuff on the other. They don't work. They work in unison, but they pick up different things.
Weird.
But this is definitely smelling like nutmeg to me. Nutmeg, caramel, vanilla.
Oh yeah, eggnoggy.
Yeah. My love for eggnog knows no bounds. I have to keep that stuff locked up away from me, man. I'm not addicted to anything, but I think I may be addicted to eggnog. That's the
eggnog.
Truth.
Hello, everybody. My name is Fred, and I've been drinking 6 gallons of eggnog. That's weak.
I'm addicted to eggnog, and my wife kicks me out of the house after I've had 6 quarts. So
there you go. I mean, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, it's cool, man. I mean, it's beautiful.
It really is. It really is. So there is definitely a lot, coming into the nose, and when you're smelling something, you begin to anticipate what it will taste like. And the whole process of this is to all of our senses go into the tasting. Like if you take away your sight and, you can't smell as well. If you take away your nose, there's a good chance you won't be able to taste as well. So it's not like if you take away your hearing, you see your sight, you hear better. It's very different with tasting. There's actually a lot of studies that are being done on it right now because tasting is one of the senses that have been really neglected in studying, except, COVID comes and now there's a bigger scientific interest in how tasting works and impacts the rest of the body.
Do you think that as you've gotten older, your taste has changed a lot? I know that when we're young, we'll just drink whatever the fuck we want. I'm drinking SoCo and lime when I'm 22. If you put that in front of you now, I really would puke.
Yeah.
But I don't
definitely. Like when I was 21, I was drinking Jim Beam White Label straight out of the bottle at a fraternity house, and then passing out on a couch, Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't dare do that today. And then if I was drinking beer, I was drinking Keystone Light. You put Keystone Light or Natural Light near me, I am running to the farthest exit. I mean, whew, God, that stuff was gross. But we had very different goals at 21 and 22.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. Different goals and different perspectives.
Well, what was now you, of course, you weren't going by Amos Lee back then. It was, and you always said that people butchered your name. So I'm going to see if I butcher this. All right. So you're going to get to hear me say your real name. And if I fuck it up, you got to call me out on it. All right. All right. Here I go. Ryan Anthony Massaro.
That's not bad.
All right. It's
pretty good.
Okay.
You're more of like the guy in Italy who would pronounce it.
Okay.
Mazzaro.
So you would prefer the Massaro?
In Philly, we say Massaro.
Massaro.
In Philly,
okay.
Yeah, and in Philly, we really say Massaro. You say it like that. And also, just FYI, in Philly, we use the word fucking as a comma. Fucking. Yeah. Here's what I'm going to go fucking to the Wawa fucking shit.
So that I would have done very well in Philly. I'd have done very well. And I just
love you there, man.
I came from Pittsburgh. I just did an event in Pittsburgh, and they didn't cuss. They didn't cuss a lot there. I mean, it's very different cultures in Pittsburgh and Philly. They're a little different. They're not very, very nice. They were very nice there.
I love Pittsburgh, dude. That's a great town. Beautiful city. Like great baseball stadium. Steelers are obviously amazing. Some of my favorite people that I've worked with are Yinzers. They call them Yinzers in Pittsburgh. But I'm lucky that I've had the chance to travel so much as a musician to really see the country in real ways. It's a little bit redundant the words I'm using, but I went to school in the South. Yeah,
South Carolina, right? You're a Gamecock.
I was a Gamecock, yeah. And I honestly feel like everybody in the United States should live in a region that they don't grow up in when they're adults or they're in college or something, because it's just different. It honestly is. We really are a hugely diverse country, and I loved it. It was hard on me the first year. It was a bit of culture shock for me. And I did get my ass pummeled by some frat guys one time at a party. They beat the shit out of me. Oh. Because I was a Philly guy. I wasn't loud, but I sound like this.
Yeah. Did they come at you as we got ourselves a Yankee here?
A little bit, yeah. They came at me I guess they just were pissed. We were college freshmen. We're just dickheads. And I was at this party, and I was just sitting there, and we were talking, and all of a sudden it was just fucking getting stomped on. So I was like, all right, so there is some shit going on down here that's a little different. But as I stayed, over the years, man, I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with like the pace. I fell in love with how different it was. And so I've gotten a chance to travel so many places. Now I love going almost everywhere. I love your town so much, dude. Like, what a city. You're in Louisville, right?
Yeah, I'm in Louisville. Yeah, we got a great
honestly,
town, man.
Dude, like, great town. And I'm really sorry to hear, about the tornadoes and stuff that went on down there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we today the reason why I had to postpone our interview a little bit is because we did a check presentation to some families there. Like no media, nothing. We just wanted to, we did a fundraiser where we raised $3.4 million, and it went to a fund. But we knew a restaurant there called Carr Steakhouse. And we wanted to like give their employees money because they had found bottles inside their the restaurant that collapsed. They found these bottles that were not opened, and they survived, and they donated them. And through those bottles, we raised $85,000, or more than 85,000. We gave them half of what we raised from, which I think was like 160,000. And so we donated that directly to their employees, and that's what we did today. And
that's awesome.
And just to see the devastation still, I mean, we got a long way to go.
Yeah, man. Well, look, I mean, I'm not going to, I played in Louisville in October. I played at Iroquois.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was, it was the first real show. We played in Nashville before that as a band, but like, dude, it was off the chains. Like, Louisville is one of the best places to play music in the world. Like, wow. The people there are just fucking ready to go.
Yeah.
A lot of them were like very ready to go. There was this one woman that was wasted and came backstage afterwards by herself and was like falling down drunk in my dressing room, like, I gotta tell you something. I was like, hold on, like, go away. You're freaking me out.
And I know the little tunnel in Iroquois, and I know how they could have gotten back there. Yeah.
She just walked by there.
Yeah. I know exactly how that could have happened. Yeah.
Well, listen, man, if there's anything I can do for that restaurant or for Louisville through you, like if you want to do a virtual show or something like that, let me know. I'd be happy to do that. Damn,
I love that. I'll let them know.
Yeah.
And to that,
let me know, seriously.
To that, shall we taste? I mean, that almost deserves a toast. That deserves a toast to that.
From Mazzaro.
And so when you taste, the big thing here is, and this is what I have learned in my career, through taste mindfulness. The first thing you want to do is focus on what part of the tongue is it hitting. You will get the sweet notes on the tip. You'll get the savory and the bitterness in the middle, and the bitterness a little bit toward the back, and then you'll get the spice in the back, and then on the sides, like on the sides of the tongue, you might also get a little bitterness as well. So the first thing to pay attention to is what part of the tongue is it hitting.
So is there a plan of action? Like, should I try to get the tip of the tongue wet first, or
just put it on your tongue naturally, and then just pay attention to where is it hitting, like where is it most powerful, where is it lighting up.
Gotcha. That's pretty.
Yeah.
That's real pretty. So here's a question for you. Mm-hmm. Can you taste without swallowing?
Yeah, I spit all the time. Yeah.
So you can taste it. Mm-hmm. I just feel like I never register unless all this stuff sounds vaguely sexual to me. I feel like I never register anything until like I swallow.
Yeah, I will be doing a tasting competition in which I will have to taste like 300 to 500 over a given weekend.
Jesus Christ.
And if I don't spit, basically I'm dead.
Yeah, right.
So like at the professional level, you learn to like taste spit, and then you know you can analyze all the aspects of it, even the finish. Now, is it absolutely perfect? No, but you know, when you do it professionally, you do make some trade-offs in the matter of volume. But you know, because one of the things that's not really talked about a lot, but we have taste buds in our throat and in our belly, and so a lot of times when you feel a tingle kind of on the way down. That's often not a burn. That's actually the sensation of your taste buds. And like sometimes you'll eat something that's spicy, and you'll still feel it. And people are like, oh wow, that's spicy. It's in my belly. Those are your taste receptors notifying you. And so that's one of the drawbacks of having to spit. But it's also you know, I'll take that every day over passing out drunk after 300, sips.
Yeah. So that's a lot of sips, bro.
It's a lot of work. So Amos, now that you have focused on, you've tasted this one and you have focused on like what part of the palate is it hitting? Was there any particular spot that it really resonated with you?
Just from a sensation standpoint?
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, like it felt like when it went in the front of my tongue, like there is a sweetness to this whiskey for sure. But it wasn't like where I felt the most connection to the experience. Like I felt like more the mid to the back of the tongue was where I got like the majority of the experience of this whiskey.
Okay.
So oddly, like when I tasted it, the front, I know this is not something that's really ever part of a whiskey experience for the most part, but it kind of tasted floral to me up front, like a subtle floral kind of thing happening at the front, and then like a cinnamon hot candy on the back. Okay,
look at that. Yeah, I mean, I was just so you'd already been kind of thinking and processing what it was tasting like. Now, let's taste it one more time and think about like the finish. And that's the last part of a tasting. And the finish is how long is it still on there, and what is the flavor that's still kind of resonating?
Cool.
Still going.
Yes, it's just there's a lot going on.
Now this is your first bourbon in 9 years. How does it feel?
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing like bourbon. There's no experience, honestly, as a good bourbon, especially. Just a different kind of thing, you know. Like I drink a lot of gin. So I kind of feel like part of my taste, and I don't know how this works, but like if your taste buds or your tongue is used to drinking gin or wine or beer, will it sort of like muscle memory go to those places like as a frame of reference? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it is your tongue is absolutely like muscle memory, you know, and I can taste Jim Beam and know it every time, because I've been drinking Jim Beam for so long. There's a few other brands that are like that, but it's fun. It's a fun, endeavor. And a lot of people will just find what they like and just kind of stick with it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm all for that. But I like kind of pushing the boundaries and getting people to learn about the different styles and what have you. And if you're a gin drinker, I can see you really liking ryes. Rye.
I love ryes,
especially some of the more herbally ones. And I did actually in the blind tasting. I've got two little. We're gonna taste these blind, and I'll reveal them what they are at the end. But I have something that was distilled and bottled in your home state. I have a rye, and then I have a big old juicy cask strength bourbon. So we're gonna have some fun here with those. Damn. But before we get into the blind, I promised a friend who's a big fan of yours that I would ask you. He's a huge fan, and cool. He's like you're a huge inspiration for him. He wanted to know your inspiration behind violin from Mission. Like what was it? What was your inspiration there?
Really good question. What's his name?
Perry Ritter. He's got a podcast called This Is My Bourbon Podcast.
Oh, cool. Well, if he ever wants to have me on, I'm on.
I'll hit him up.
I'll be happy to do it. So that song was kind of written at a pretty strange time in my life and my career. So it was like 2010 or so. My first record came out in 2005. Your first record comes out. If you're lucky, you get good buzz. You experience everything mostly for the first time or the second time. You're touring. You're pretty young. You're having a blast. You're getting wasted. You're doing dumb shit. And then, after 4 years or so, or 5 years, the shine wears off of you a bit. The touring gets harder. You start feeling a bit dragged down. The relationships you've had, being a younger person / getting into your 30s, people start changing. You start changing. I had to make a lot of changes right at that kind of intersection of time. And I changed management. I was living with a woman who I was super into, and she just back broke my soul. And it was winter. It was January. It was freezing in Philadelphia. I didn't have a car. And there's this stretch of kind of tunnel that I had to walk through every day to get to the liquor store, by the way. Probably to buy bourbon, I swear, honestly. And I remember it was January. There was this whipping wind just crushing me, and I'm walking into it. And there's just no escaping that kind of cold. You can't get away from it. It penetrates every bit of your being. And I remember getting back from that walk and just being like, what the fuck is my life? This is just awful. I hate everything. Sucks right now. My friends are all gone, and she left, and I don't know what I'm doing with my career. Everything feels really fucked up. And I'm also explaining probably 60% of my adulthood, but at that moment I was just sort of just give me something, just give me something, give me a moment. So here, I'll do this. I don't know if this will even work, but because I don't know if this works on these kind of these overtime podcasts, but
I can hear it.
I just started playing, and I just started kind of riffing around, and I remember just going to the chorus. I was like, "Oh God, why you been hanging out in that old violin while I've been waiting for you?" And then just kind of writing the song from there. And a lot of it is, the lyrics in that song are very biographical. I mean, they're exactly biographical. just sorting through everything. You know, the lover's using words as ammunition. I mean, she really was shitty when she left. Like, she took everything and used it as weapons. Like, my family and myself and my songs and everything, and then she just left cold. And so I was just sort of barren, you know, and sometimes being barren, you know, as a mindfulness person, kind of the goal is to be barren.
Yeah.
You want to find a source of emptiness because that's where true fullness can be. And there was a barrenness in me that just was open and aware. Now, you know, there's sort of a religious element to that song because I'm calling out, you know, God, where are you? Like, why are you over there? Why are you waiting somewhere else? I can't get to you. You're impossible. I can't find you. But at the same time, God is right there because that is the song. So it's kind of like a very long journey song. That's what I would say to Perry. But you know, I do think sometimes, and we're talking about mental health a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You know, PTSD is just. I have a couple of people I know in my life who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and one of them actually is doing really well. He went through some shit. He went through a lot of shit. He actually had that Gulf War syndrome.
Oh, okay.
And he was really sick. You know, he was really sick.
Did he have lung issues?
Yeah.
Yeah, we burned all our trash and waste and like that, and there was a lot of factors to that, and it was and they also use hexavalent chromium, which is used in concrete around us all the time. Yeah, I mean and the thing is, it was it was not the U.S. military necessarily doing some of these things. It was Halliburton. Some of these contractors, and it's kind of been forgotten, but I mean, there's been all kinds of weird medical issues with our generation of vets because of some of that stuff.
Yeah, I whenever I see anything, because occasionally you'll read something like a small blurb in a newspaper that'll say Gulf War syndrome ? It's like, yes, it is. And we should honestly be talking about this a lot more, because one thing that I also sort of understood, and I'm sure you don't want to talk about this too much more, but one thing I also understood was if you do come back from Afghanistan and Iraq and you do have an issue with something like that per se, getting the proper medical care is really challenging. Jumping through all of the hoops to get the treatment you need can be really hard. And just as a question, how easy was it for you to get the help you needed from a mental health standpoint with the benefits of discharge from the Army?
Yeah, you have to do work for it, but I mean, it's probably a couple more steps above having your own insurance and going to a physician or something, but they have a lot of outreach programs and all of the organizations that are separate, that are there to serve us, like the VFW, which is not part of the government or anything. Their sole job is helping veterans coming home from war, but they're a private organization. American Legion. There's a lot of places that are out there doing outreach and helping. And then, sometimes when you are a vet and you walk in that door and you're like, I need help, and you haven't been registered, you haven't been through the process, they have to register you. And if you don't have your DD-214 or something like that, I mean, there are some hurdles there, but for the most part, it's pretty. They do their very best, and my wife works in mental health and is I've got a ready home therapist anytime I need her. Of course, she probably gets tired of that, but Yeah. But and here's the thing, man, is I haven't stopped. I'm still in therapy. I mean, I still have that shit. Like I can't walk in a downtown setting and around skyscrapers and not look up at every single building and look for snipers. I just can't. And when you've been so close to getting hit in the head by a sniper, it's what you do. And the difference between today and when I got home was that moment of looking up to looking down. Is today I can walk forward. Whereas 15, 16 years ago, I would go into a deep, dark depression. And that's where that's the difference, is like I've stopped that and moved that energy somewhere else. But the fact is every veteran coming home does get a lot of outreach. Sometimes we're not open to it. Sometimes we're not ready. And then sometimes we get into programs and they don't work, and it's fucking hard. But I mean, I went through probably 4 or 5 different therapists and programs before I found one that worked for me. But I would keep going back, and I kept going back because really the woman who's now my wife. So I had a support system, but that's where everything is that support system.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Well, God, good for you for keep going back. I mean, that's one thing I think that stops a lot of people from finding the right sort of, not solutions, but right path for themselves in mental health and therapy, is that they think like if the first person doesn't work, it's not like the whole profession is bullshit and it's not going to work, and I'm not good at this or whatever. And it's like, you're a great example, dude. Like, you kept going. Now, obviously your wife probably is a huge help, but
yeah, totally.
Not everybody has that, which sucks. But like, I hope that you share that story often, because like more people need to hear that.
I try to. It is not. I've gotten through to a lot of people, and I know that it has been well received. But there's also a personal toll on me sometimes when I share, because there's that whole feeling of like. And hell, this is becoming a therapy session here, Amos. So,
I mean, isn't that what you do when you drink?
That's right. But like there's this like I'm in the middle of going through a meditation podcast, for example. It's called Meditative Story, and they interview like celebrities who do meditation and interesting people who do meditation, and they just dissect into them, and that process like opened up some things that I had kind of like buried and kept away. But the guy interviewing me has one of those like meditation voices, and it's like just like opened up everything, and it's great. Everything's awesome, but I wasn't prepared for it, so sometimes the sharing to help others, if you're not ready and if you're not prepared for it, you can get yourself in trouble. But there is therapists get therapy to deal with helping others. It's just part of it. It's part of it.
Yeah.
And I imagine it's a little bit like songwriting. You bury your soul into a song. You might have to write another song to cope with that one. So. Yeah. And your music's deep, man. So, and you write your own shit.
I do. And sometimes it's sort of like, I joke about it in my shows, but I'm like, I really don't feel like reliving this tonight, y'all. Like, I go right back to the places where these songs come from. And
oh, wow.
Like, yeah, it's weird, man. I feel like I have to, because I like, I'm a working class kid. Like,
Yeah.
I had shitty jobs. I mean, literally shitty. Like, I was a plumber's helper. I've done everything. I was like, worked as a landscaper. I was a teacher. That was a cool job. It was hard, but it was very different than some of the manual labor things I did. But I feel that same instinct to work hard and to like push myself to do the best I can. And in my job, that means not phoning it in every night, like never phoning it in. And I really do go through this thing before every show where I'm like, okay, this person, like, who knows where they came from, what they had to do to get here, if they could even afford it, if they're going through some shit that tonight they're going to go home and be like, life's a little bit better. I feel like I need to be totally present for that 90 minutes. I don't work every day, you know. I work like 6 months out of the year. I can do it, you know.
Yeah. All right. So you said you go there with the person. So when you all did the Game of Thrones in your live album, were you like on a dragon, like in that moment?
I was Peter Dinklage in that moment.
All right.
I was just having a little sip of wine and, like, you know, taking everything in.
By the way, that was awesome. I love that. It was like I love that part of the live album. Amazing live album, by the way. From Red Rock.
Yeah, man. Have you been? Have you ever been to Red Rocks? I mean, you have to go.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, you have to. It's full on magic, dude. Like, you don't even need a dragon. It's just straight up magic.
Okay.
Like,
I felt it from the album. That's probably the best live album I've ever heard. I mean,
yeah, I'm telling you, every show at Red Rocks is that good. I swear to God.
Wow, really?
Every single show at Red Rocks is, you can't help it. There's just something there. Like, there's just something that happens in that place that activates, like, your greatness. Wow. And the people feel it. Like, I went to see Old Crow Medicine Show and Molly Tuttle and actually Dwight Yoakam. It was a kind of a wild bill, but I went and saw them this summer there. And it was just lit, man. It was just, the whole thing was just on fire the whole time. And so I would really recommend. And Denver, I mean, there's so many whiskeys. I'm seeing you have a Colorado Rye in front of me, too.
Yeah.
There's so many whiskeys in Colorado right now.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff coming out of Colorado, for sure.
Have you ever had Deer Hammer?
Yeah, I know Deer Hammer.
That's my buddy's place.
Yeah, okay. I can't say it's familiar to me, but I mean, I've had it before. I didn't. I mean, if it would have really sucked, I would have remembered it. If it was really good, I would have remembered it.
I only remember the shitty stuff.
I remember the shitty stuff. You know, when you taste a lot, you remember the shitty stuff and the really good stuff. Speaking of which, are you ready for the blind tasting?
Yeah, but let me just get like one more little bit of lesson from this Michter's that we just had.
You got it.
So, like, what do you taste in this?
Well, my glass here is empty now, but it is a Michter's 10-year-old reminds me of the holidays, like a pumpkin pie, like a custard, and you know, maybe even like a raisin bread. There's just a lot of, like, you know, cinnamon and nutmeg, and and then on the sweet side we like a vanilla icing. But it's just it's a really balanced with a touch of complexity. It's a very it's. I mean, there's a reason that you know, the bottle I sent you, I think it was made my top 25 for best whiskeys of the year. I mean, it's great whiskey. It really is.
Yeah.
And
so if I told you that what I tasted was rose and leather.
well, leather is actually a great note. And anyone who ever played baseball and chewed on their glove should know that note.
I definitely do.
In rose water, rose floral. Yeah, I mean those are real notes. And the thing is like those are, you know, you were telling me earlier you're an avid wine drinker. You know, rose is a note that comes out in wine a lot. So definitely. you're going where your muscle memory is, and the thing is everybody tastes differently. And what I taste, I try to train people and teach people to like taste for yourself. You know, listen to people, but make up your own mind. And I'm not the kind of critic that says this sucks, you shouldn't taste it. You know, well, you know, maybe one or two of those I do that, but it's not it's not something that you know, no two persons' tasting notes are ever the same.
Right.
But cool. leather's a great call out. It's a great
leather felt right to me. The rose felt like a bit of a reach, but it also just like there was something light. There was something kind of like light that was just like, kind of just right on the front and the top. That was kind of like what? It's kind of weird, but I definitely not. You know, when you say all the like Thanksgiving flavors, definitely. It's like I would love to have like a banging ass turkey sandwich with this whiskey.
Yeah, man, that sounds good. That's actually what I had for dinner. I had a turkey.
The best. Thanksgiving sandwiches are the greatest things.
Mm-hmm. So now here we are. Let's go to the blind tasting. Start with Glass A. So you should your box that you got, the kit should have
I'm just gonna rinse this glass.
Okay.
I only have one because I'm forever a vagabond, Fred. I'm always just living where I am. So I have one glass.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, you learn to adapt, man. You know, like it's a weird thing being on the road, man. Like I honestly find it, even when I'm not touring, if I have a suitcase halfway open in the living room, I'm more comfortable. It's freaking weird. It's probably why I'm single.
Well, you know, I mean, at least you're, you know, we'll go on trips and we may not unpack a suitcase for 2 months, you know, and just like leave it unpacked, you know, because I know I'll go out again and I will get booked for private tastings and have to be there in like 3 days. So I'm always ready.
Wow.
All right. Yeah. So we're on Glass A. I started smelling the other ones. So Glass A, do you have, you have a couple other glasses, right? You got your coffee cup?
I have my coffee cup. It has water in it though. I can just squash the water and get rid of it.
You can have, I mean,
I don't give a shit.
We're in game mode now. Amos has got his glasses ready to go.
Smash. All right, so are we doing like rapid fire? Is that what's happening?
Well,
so
no. Let's taste A together. Let's break this down together. We're hereby we're both we're going to choose a champion together here out of the three of these.
Cool. You guys better get on your game, you whiskeys.
Fucking assholes, right? These fucking asshole whiskeys.
Sitting there in your little shithead bottles.
Remember your training, Amos. Remember your training.
That's right. That's right. I will defeat you. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is very different from the Michter's. The nose is, at least. Wow. Interesting. Really interesting.
It's like hard candy.
Yeah, it's very sweet.
Yeah.
In a cool way, though. Like, there's also something kind of like gummy about it, which is weird.
Like a CBD gummy?
Yeah, sort of like, you know, like when you're eating a taffy and that has that aftertaste when you're done it.
Oh, yeah. Aspartame.
Yeah. It's cool, though, man. There's also something really Mm. Mm. It's cool. I like it. It's different. I don't know how much of this I could like sit with for an hour because it's just so like.
Sweet.
There's also something. Yeah, there's also something very like kind of alcohol-y about it. Like kind of like very grain alcohol kind of vibes to me. But it's cool. It's fun. It's playful in a really weird, fucked up way. Like, you know, like a kid with a mullet who just like, you know, he's about to slap you with his fucking little kid hammer on your knee, but you're still like, cool, just do it anyway. That's great.
That's the best tasting note of all time. Glass A is kid with a mullet about to slap you and jack you up in the knee with a little hammer. That's awesome.
It's good, man. It's cool though. Yeah, it's good. It hits really mellow too afterwards. Like it's just like the vibe.
Yeah. But you definitely like the Michter's that you had before more than this one.
I don't know that I can say more. You know, like it's different. They're just very different. Like the Michter's feels more balanced sort of to me. Like there's a familiarity with the Michter's that like, oh cool, like that's classic vibe bourbon. Like I'll drink that 10 nights out of 10 nights and never have a problem with it. This one's got a little bit more like it's a bit more playful. It's a bit less like custardy, like you were saying. But it's great actually. And my second sip was better than my first sip.
Often is the case when something's really sweet. When something's really sweet, you just focus on the sweet, and then like anything else that can come up. And then when you said grain alcohol, it made me think of like how common that is like when something's so sweet, then you just like the next thing you can tell is alcohol because the sweetness overpowers everything else. A is a glass that, and I know what it is. I'm not going to reveal that yet. I don't know it by having poured it. I know it just by tasting it. It's a very obvious one for me. But it's a glass that I pour this for a lot of people, and this is often a crowd favorite. So if we were to do this tasting with like 60 people, I would say 32 of them, this would be their favorite.
Wow.
Because most people have a sweet tooth.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Like there's definitely something kind of coconutty about it too, which is sort of weird. But yeah, I did like it. I liked it a lot. I liked it definitely more the second taste. I was like, all right, that's dig it more than I can really dig it. Yeah, I really can. Like vanilla kind of vibes. Yeah, it's cool.
So before we go to Glass B, which get the glass you want ready for Glass B, we're about to dive into that.
I'm gonna mug it up.
I had this like I like to think about like great artists of like who classically like that I love, what I'd love to see them play. I would love to see you play with John Fogerty and do some Creedence Clearwater Revival. I don't know if that thought's ever crossed your mind, but I'm just planning it right now. I think it'd be really cool to see you do some CCR.
Put me in, coach. That's just like the daddest of dad jokes, just smashed up against the wall. Sorry.
Is there anybody you would like to really play with?
I mean, I've had really like good luck in my life with that kind of stuff. My idol was John Prine, who passed away in 2020. And dude, and we did Paradise, which I don't know if you know that song, but it's about Kentucky. It's not exactly like the nicest song about Kentucky, but it's
he's a god. Tune. He's a god out in Western Kentucky. Yeah, they love him there.
I know he's the greatest, man. And the first time I played with him was actually in Greenville, South Carolina, and I got wasted because I was so nervous at the sushi restaurant next door on sake. and I puked before the show. And then he brings me up on stage, and I played his guitar, and we did Paradise together. And he was just the fucking nicest guy of all time. Like, just like I was and am devastated that we lost him. I also have one more really fucking funny story about him. So I played another show with him in New Orleans, and like John had this thing where his after show food was always a sausage pizza and a gigantic bowl of like Neapolitan ice cream. That was like the spread. And like I was just having a good time back there. They brought the pizzas back. And so I was like, he was playing his show and I had a piece. So I went and he calls me up on stage. And you know how that shit is when someone calls you on stage, you do like the little hug and it's like, oh, it's so great to see you, and all that. And he leans in, he goes, you smell like my pizza.
Oh, that's funny.
The greatest shit. And then he laughs, he smiles at me, and we play this song, and I was just like, oh, God. The greatest, man. The greatest. Wow. But I don't know, dude. I'll play with anybody. I'd love to play with Fogerty. I would love to play with Neil Young or, Stevie Wonder or, dude, anybody. I love singing, man. I love singing songs, and I'm just so grateful for everything, dude. It's been a wild ride.
Well, it's fun to watch you. I tell you that. Like I gotta imagine you enjoy the stage more than the studio, because you come to life on the stage.
I like both for different reasons. Like I'm honestly like pretty introverted as in general in my life. Like I don't go out really ever. I find some of the like stuff I have to do now for my job to be kind of like a lot. Especially with the anxiety and depression stuff, like it's not always there, but it's never not there.
Yeah.
So depending on when and what time of year and how I'm taking care of myself and what I'm doing, I love playing live shows. Don't get me wrong. I live for it. And the studio is its own thing. Like you get to discover like the purity of the moment. It would be kind of like, serving your booze versus distilling your booze. And I do both, and so like, I think there are people who only want to be distillers and people who only want to work in the front of the house. And I kind of do both. And I love both, but it's a different form of discovery. And, it's more challenging. It's more challenging to be consistent no matter which one you choose. So, as I get older, I'm trying to appreciate it all because I know that every day is like, you got to be there for it.
Oh, cheers to that, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Are you ready for some Glass B?
Be it up. Let's be that bee. All right. I will pour it in the mug.
Here we go. We're going.
Go ahead.
This is true blue Philadelphia right here, folks. He is putting it in a white porcelain coffee mug.
True blue Philly would be like out of the bottle for sure.
That's true. with a pickled egg on the side.
Absolutely. I mean, my grandfather, his style was fifth of old granddad. That's it. Like, no fucking glass, no fucking ice, no fucking remembrance of what happened before. That's my stock, though, man. Like, I have whiskey drinking people in my family. Like, that's what they went for.
I mean, that's Pennsylvania.
Yeah, my uncle actually liked brandy, which is crazy to me. Like, that was his drink. Brandy. Like, weird. And, the Italian side, they liked anisette, which I've never really had it, but I think that was kind of like, and you've seen The Godfather, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's like, what do you want to drink? He's like, anisette. So this is also kind of a heavy It's like a heavy bottom kind of vibe.
Here we go.
All right. That's a working man's whiskey right there. For sure.
Very, very corn forward, very grainy, very,
yeah.
Maybe some toast in there. But I will say this, there's no flaws in it.
It's good. Like, it's solid, man. It goes and it keeps going at the same speed.
Yeah, it's not,
cool.
It doesn't taste like a dirty gym sock.
No. There's no dirty nothing in this.
Not that I taste a lot of dirty gym socks, but
only when you had to.
It's when you,
and that was extra.
I think when I reveal these and kind of talk about what they are, it'll make a little bit more sense. Well, it's a journey of 3 different whiskey types. And and so this one is an incredible representation of a particular style of whiskey. It's really
this is PA.
Yeah, this one's from Pennsylvania, I think.
Yeah,
you're like, I know my roots. I know my Pennsylvania roots.
I can taste the water, man. It's very, very. The water's dirty, but the whiskey's clean.
That's fascinating that you just called that out. Love it.
Well, you said it.
Well, I mentioned that we had it. I didn't say which glass it was. Yeah.
Oh, well, this one honestly feels like home to me. Like, I've had shit like that. Like, I'm not saying I've had that exact whiskey, but like that feels familiar to me.
Awesome.
Like, it's kind of a bit of an edge to it. There's a bit of a fuck you, buddy.
And that's a style of Pennsylvania. Fuck you.
Fuck you, buddy.
Fuck you, buddy. And fuck you.
That's right. Fuck you, buddy. The new album from Amos Lee.
I like that. Actually, I mean, it goes right in line with your. Saying "fuck you" to people is the next wave of mental health.
Hey, man. I have a puppet. I have an emotional support puppet. Do you know that?
No, I don't.
Would you like to meet him?
Let's meet him.
All right, good. I thought you would, so I just figured I would bring him. His name is Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Yo, asshole, what's up?
Just drinking some whiskey with Amos.
We partying or what?
Yeah, we're getting down. We're just getting to know each other, though, a little bit. And Amos just told me to fuck off.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he only knows 4 or 5 words. Fuck off, eat, fuck off. All right, that's my emotional support puppet.
I love it.
Oops. That's my guitar. That's my other emotional support puppet right there.
Well, hopefully
he's funny. He's a weird guy.
Hey, he strikes me as a guy that I can relate to, though. I feel like I could
relatable.
I could relate to him.
Relatable. He's got lots of problems, though, man. He's a funny cat. Yes.
Well, I don't know where I would be without my problems. The thing about the beauty of life is your problems help make you who you are, and I think that's often misrepresented in the journey of life. Don't run from your problems, own them, and work with them, if you will.
Yeah. They, if it's interesting, man, because we have this new sensibility because we have a lot of people have found ways to present themselves kind of in a one-dimensional place. And it's sort of like what the title track to the album is about.
Yeah.
Which is Dreamland. It's sort of that, like, it's a bit of a complex idea. The idea of what I'm trying to say with Dreamland, it's not like like a college professor complex, but you know, it's like there are ways to present yourself that's like you can kind of fake it that you're fine.
Yeah.
And I worry that when people do that, that like they go to a more extreme place because they don't think they're allowed to be fucked up.
Yeah.
And our culture has gotten a little bit like punitive in the way that we approach each other. Not just with politics or with personality or with, you know, things that people have done that have been bad in the past. Like we just have gotten kind of punitive with each other. And like, we all grow up with bullies and people who fuck with us, and we have to fight back sometimes and we have to be strong. But like and one thing I really appreciate about what you've shared with me today is like, you're going head on into your shit. Like you're in therapy and you're meditating.
Yeah.
And I've done both of those things too. And frankly, sometimes for me, it just gets to the point where I'm like, I know what my other alternative here is. And I don't want that.
Yeah.
I just don't want to go that way.
That was, that was the reason why I did what I did. I mean, I had people helping me and pushing me, but I mean, I was close to going to jail or homeless or worse, Yeah. And it just, I didn't want that. And I'm a professional bourbon taster now, and it's often presented to me like, bourbon is the, people drink to cope with their problems. Like that's exactly right. They drink to cope. People drink to drown their pain. I taste to enjoy life. I don't taste to cope, and that is that's a big difference. And we don't allow complexities and issues. Everything is in a box, and if it goes outside that box, it's like society for the most part doesn't understand outside the box. And God, it frustrates the hell out of me, Amos. It frustrates the hell out of me because people just do not, especially now, they say don't judge, but yet we judge more today than we ever have before,
There's more to judge. Like we're living on the surface all the time. It's all there for you. Like everyone is constantly showing their ass.
Yes.
Like, everyone's ass is out all the time. It's like, dude, what are we doing? But it's also interesting too, man, because I read this book called Lost Connections a few years ago, 3 years ago. Really good book. I would recommend it to anybody who's going through depression, especially anybody who's been like on medication, maybe frustrated with the path they're on. I'm not saying it's a solution. I'm not saying that what all of his book is saying is everyone else's solution. I am saying it brings up some really interesting points about like community and purpose and connection. And I read this book right before all the lockdowns happened. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to go out and do some shit, like get involved with the community. And then it's like, oh God. Oh, fuck me.
Then
I guess I'll be right. I'm going to write some more songs.
and that became Dreamland. Was that Dreamland, or was that?
No, man. Dreamland was done, dude.
Dreamland was done by then?
Already in the can. Yeah. So I have I'm going to start recording in about a month or 3 weeks or something, and I'm going to make all the songs I wrote last year. New record.
Wow. So ninth in studio record coming out soon.
Yeah, and I actually have another one, which is a covers record. It's a Chet Baker tribute album that we did. Because after Prine died, and Bill Withers was my other favorite, those guys died within 2 weeks of each other in 2020, right as the lockdown was happening. And I was just devastated. And those were the two people who, like, when I wanted to get that comfort feeling, I went to them. And I couldn't. because I was just so devastated. I couldn't listen to them. It was like someone you love's died. You don't want to like go listen to their music because it just hurts too much. So I started listening to Chet Baker, which shows you how masochistic I am, is that I go to some of the saddest shit of all time to feel better. But there's a levity and there's a balance in what he does that the way, like those songs are heartbreaking. They are very sad, but there's just a kind of grace about them that's like, yeah, like life is sad and that's cool. Like we're still going to try to enjoy this like glass of whiskey and this moment and these songs and this trumpet solo, like feel good. Like, I don't know what else to say to you, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my plan over the next year is to tour, make a new record and try to do some shows with my band and then do some shows with Chet Baker stuff. It's going to be fun.
Awesome.
Would love to come do something in Louisville with the jazz stuff.
I'd love to have you back, man. I'd love to do some with you. We could do some like we could do like a public tasting together. And
do you fuck with the Brown? Do you go to the Brown Hotel?
The Brown Hotel?
Like,
yeah, oh yeah.
That was my jam, dude.
I love that place.
Yeah.
You know, there was so they had a piano player in there, and we would be drinking in the lobby trying to figure out if they were actually playing the piano because it was one of those automatic pianos, and we never did figure it out.
Nope. The more you drank, the less obvious it was.
Yeah. But so now we have one more to taste.
Exhibit C.
Before
Right,
we choose our champion.
All right. Gonna rinse my mug. It's nice drinking with you, man. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's celebration day. I mean, I'm honored to be sipping whiskey with you on the drop of Dreamland. I mean,
thanks, man.
And it's you know, you've already had a top 10 hit out of the album. You know, you got several more to come. I love it. I think it's some of your best work, but it also feels a little different to me than some of your other stuff. And you know, it really does. It feels different.
It is different. I mean, the approach was totally different recording this record. You know, I have a real journey with my album making because the first record I made was like, you know, I'm fresh, you know, my ass is fresh. Like I'm a brand new baby, you know, like everything's cool. Like I'm in the studio and it was cool, man. Like I was getting wasted and like not during, because you think it's strange, man, because I think a lot of people, artists too, like have this romantic idea of the studio.
Yeah.
You watch the movies, you see all the bullshit where it's like, you know, even the Queen movie, which I really liked because I'm a huge Queen fan. Even the Queen movie kind of like, it just romanticizes it to a point where it's like, it's way more like functional than that. Like maybe when Jimi Hendrix was recording or something, or you can catch lightning in a bottle. But my first record was fun. It was light. I had no expectations. I didn't know anything about it. My second record was kind of hard because I really wanted to like make it a record I made with my friends, and it just didn't quite get there. We made some good stuff. My third record, I was just lost. My fourth record was Mission Bell, and I sort of refound myself. I dug much deeper as a writer. I went out to the desert, and it was just the right place at the right time. And we made some really beautiful work. And then my fifth record, I think I was a bit of a shithead, and I wasn't exactly present with it. I think I was trying to, again, like my ambitions were greater than my songs, which is a problem. Mm-hmm. You need the songs. And I think I had some good songs on that record, but it wasn't quite there, the full vision. The sixth record I made, which is called Spirit, I produced in Nashville. bit off way more than I can chew. And the only analogy that I can have is like being pregnant and trying to deliver your own baby. It's just like,
tough,
you can, but you shouldn't.
I mean, I've been there. It's tough.
Yeah, right. Man, that beard threw me off, but you know, man, we live in new times. We live in new times.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm giving you a rundown, a litany of my albums, but this one I just kind of wanted to like, and something that I've been trying to do more in my life.
I think I stopped you. I tried to make a funny at the sixth album. But what was the album like? What was the process before this one? What was that? What was the story on that one?
Well, what was the funny you were going to make? I want the funny.
Well, the funny I tried to make was I had a baby, or tried to deliver my.
Oh, you had a baby.
Yeah, that didn't work.
I mean,
it did.
It is funny. It's a weird ass image, to be honest with you, but
it didn't work.
I mean, look, it works. It works in a weird way, but I'm going to try to get that out of my mind now. Seventh record, I went and made a record with this guy named Tony Berg, and it was a blast. We deconstructed every song. Like, he's like a deconstructor. And so I got to this point after I produced my own record and kind of like really stopped smelling myself so much and like wanting the credit, and just wanted to start making like more open, more interesting records. And not to say that there's not cool stuff on Spirit. There is. There's lots of great stuff. I think I can be hard on myself, but I also think I can be honest with myself, which is I should have been more inclusive, like in the process of that record. And I just wanted to prove that I could do it. Like I get it. I know how to do this. And like kind of backfired on me a little bit. Like, not that the record is bad. There's good stuff on it, but I shouldn't have done that. And I think I just rushed into something that didn't have a great plan for. Anyway, which brings me to this latest record, and it was another one of these things where like I want to be collaborative. I want to honor everybody in the room. I want it to be like open and fun, and I don't want it to be about ego or control or bullshit. Like, I don't have any time for that anymore. I'm fucking done. Like, I know that's not what we as a, like, I don't want to say like, it's just like we have this ideal that like you watch Succession and it's like the bad man always wins, and it's like all this shit. And it's like, I guess, but I don't care about that. Like, I want this to be collaborative and fun and open and cool. And I want you to feel ownership over the process because we're creating together. And working in a restaurant, like I worked in the Olive Garden, it was all about, not that this is a very strange thing to draw upon, but it was always about teamwork. Like, it's all teamwork. All the best things in life are team-based and are community-based, if they can be. So this was a real collaborative effort, man. Like, Leggy, the producer, put a lot of his heart and soul into it. And so the reason it's different is because the essence of him and the ideas of his really are hugely resonant in this. So, and that was partly because I wanted it that way. Like, I don't have all the answers. I don't want them. So it's just a pragmatic process.
It almost sounds like Dreamland is the album where you found yourself. Yeah,
well, I allowed myself to be seen more.
Yeah.
I like, so there's a song on there called Hold You. And that's just like straight up like me singing to my little self, like just straight up. And I want that to be a song that people go to. Not that I want them to do that, but if they're so inclined and they're emotionally drawn to it, I would love for that song to be something that helps people, like, either closer to themselves or closer to the people that love them. Like, let me in, like something so simple about the idea of holding someone And sometimes really that's all we need. You know, sometimes it's just about like, you know, like my friend's kid, my friend Jaron and Allie have a son named Malcolm. Beautiful, like cutest little kid in the world. And I went to visit them like in April or something. And Malcolm just like Jaron plays in my band. He walked up to his dad and said, hold me. You know, it's just like, when was the last time you walked up to somebody and was like, hold me?
Well, I mean, you know, just the other night, but, you know.
Yeah, right. 2 nights ago.
Two nights ago. I mean.
We won't talk about that, though. But, yeah, so, I mean, I've been finding myself along the way. Like, finding yourself is just part of being lost. And, like, I've definitely been lost a lot. So,
yeah.
Not that I think it's a 1-to-1 ratio of being lost and being found, but, like, I guess you kind of have to acknowledge your own weaknesses and vulnerabilities to be able to like find a more solid place inside of yourself. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah, and here's the thing is like it takes fucking courage and strength to even have this conversation, you know, to bring it to this level here. And I mean, I think that's where that is where you shine. You shine in like in really being strong, allowing yourself to be vulnerable. I mean, I've listened to other interviews with you and, you know, you're open about it. It just screams out in your music. And I mean, to that, man, it takes some fucking courage. So, you know, we're just meeting for the first time. And I just got to say, you know, my hat's off to you and cheers to that, my friend.
My mug's up to you.
my mug to your mug to my Glencairn.
That's right.
All right. So Glass C, this is our last one. Yeah. We do have to determine a champion here.
Okay.
It's
not very Buddhist of us, though.
Yeah, I mean, all that of me saying like we judge too much, and here I am telling you that we have to make a judgment.
Two of you are fucking losers. Okay,
I'm such a fucking hypocrite.
But we all kind of are in our own ways, right? So yeah, I mean, as long as you can laugh at yourself, I think it's cool.
That's exactly right. I laugh at myself, and if I don't, my kids or my wife will for me. So
there you go. So taste it, yeah?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's meaty, really big.
Yeah, it is. It's long.
Yep.
Really long. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you know what it reminds me of kind of is Booker's. But not quite as like fuck you as Booker's is like.
I mean, it's about the same at Proof Point, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big fuck you cask strength whiskey. For sure.
You have to be real careful with this kind of whiskey. I've had my moments with them. Yeah. This whiskey is the one that you have to be like, what the fuck did I do?
Where was I last night? Where did I go?
How many did I drink?
What's your name again?
I mean, honestly, dude, I've had some really like hilarious, ridiculous times drinking this kind of bourbon.
I had I won't share their name, but I've hung out with a few artists where they would take my bottles and then just end up on the street by themselves in the middle of downtown, and then it's somehow my fault because they took my bottle. Like, well, I didn't make them drink it, you know. I mean,
yeah.
So I now have a policy. I unless their manager's with them, I don't let them take a bottle. So, but
the managers sometimes are worse than the artist. FYI.
That is true. That is true because they want the bottle for themselves, right?
They want at least 15%.
Yeah. Do you feel like they earn the 15% though? I mean, sometimes.
Mine do.
Yeah.
Mine do. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they. It's interesting, man, because I'm like I talked to you about being like when I take the stage, I take it very seriously and work hard.
Right.
When I'm home, I don't like to do shit. So they're doing a lot of stuff, like, and that 15% is like it accrues, like all the little shit that's like that, like talking to the label and the streaming systems and all this stuff. Like, yeah, it's interesting, man, because I know artists who don't have managers. I just happen to love mine and think they're amazing people, and so like it's a team, man. Like we work together, and to me, like. The money is great. Like, please, like, I love to buy shit and have a nice time and enjoy things. But, like, the human relationships are what we are made of. They're like our stardust. We are that. Like, every moment in our lives is not reflected by, like, the material things. It's the spiritual connection we have to each other and the people that are in our lives. That is our fuel. So that's why we have to choose our people well. And I'm glad that you have a wife and a partner who's like helped you become a better you. And that's ultimately what we all should be looking for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And my God, I'm looking at the clock here. I've had you on for an hour and a half. Holy shit.
It's what whiskey do.
That's what it does. So I'm going to open up the results here, but I'm going to call it A. This is my guess. A was Angel's Envy Rye.
Cool.
Finish in that. I'm going to guess B was Liberty Pole. This is a Pittsburgh area. I don't remember so it's almost, it's 32 months, so it's almost 3 years. It's a corn whiskey.
Cool.
And then a limited edition Larceny Barrel Proof Wheated Bourbon. So that would have been C.
What does wheated bourbon mean?
Wheated bourbon means that it was, instead of using rye as a secondary grain after corn, they would have used wheat.
Okay.
And
wheat.
Yep.
See, I thought you said weed.
Oh, wheat. No, wheat, like the grain. Yeah, I have a weird. Yeah, a weed bourbon.
It's that kind of shit.
That's a whole different story.
I wish you would have told me, but
Actually, a lot of people like to pair weed with whiskey.
I bet they fucking do.
That's a thing. I
heard you talking about you're a cigar smoker.
Yeah, I love cigars.
I listen to your coffee podcast because I'm a huge coffee fucker.
Oh, right on. Yeah, I'm a huge. I love cigars. I love coffees and cigars. I actually have a couple sober interviews coming up where I agreed to do some coffee with them, and I'm thinking about doing some different origins, like for like a tasting. Should be fun.
I would love to connect you with a friend of mine if you'd like that.
Oh,
who's he's a badass coffee roaster.
Okay. Yeah. Dog.
I'll get his coffee
on the show.
I'll send because I'm like, every city I go to, I'm super into going to like multiple coffee shops to see what's happening. Mm-hmm. I got into coffee from my old tour manager, who's also got me into like rum and mezcal. Like I've had times with all of the boozes and the coffee. So if you want any thoughts about coffee stuff, I actually really liked the episode you did with Miss Wen.
Oh, yeah.
First name because
Yeah, the Vietnamese coffee. Yeah,
Vietnamese coffee, because I don't drink a lot of Vietnamese coffee, but I loved how passionate she was about that.
yeah,
And I thought it was really interesting, a really interesting perspective on coffee, because most coffee really is South American, Central American, African. Indonesia has its sort of perk in that world, but I haven't had a lot of Vietnamese coffee, so I thought that was cool. But there's a great
drinking coffee with her changed how I drink coffee at home. I mean, it was cool.
And I was listening to that going I have a bit more perspective on my own coffee likes, and she doesn't like the kind of fruit forward stuff, which is fine. It's obviously coffee to me is what makes you happy. What makes you feel good. There's a nostalgia with coffee, and some people don't want light roast. Mm-hmm. Some people don't want to taste blueberry gummy bears or whatever. But there's a dynamic to coffee that is so cool and interesting. I also really liked what you had to say about it, which was, meanwhile, I'm reviewing your podcast on your podcast, which was the fair trade thing, and that whole thing is really complicated and complex. And and the last point I want to make, which follows up to that, is there's a coffee institute at Vanderbilt in Nashville that has a lot of really interesting information about what those co-ops do and how those farmers get paid. Because I think your interest is the same as mine, which is okay, well, if I pay $6 for a cup of coffee, is the farmer making any of that shit? Or is it just everyone else?
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's really everyone else.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, man, cool. I mean, your podcast is great. The E40 episode was my favorite.
He is awesome. Yeah. And he, Earl Stevens, E40, that guy is the biggest San Francisco 49ers fan. Biggest fan I've ever seen. Huge.
Yeah, he's at all the games.
He's at all the games
he's front
all the
row.
time. And
how does he get the tickets?
Yeah. I mean, well, and also he's a Golden Nuggets fan too.
The Warriors.
Did I say Golden Nuggets? That's Denver. He's a Warriors fan.
You're thinking about casinos, bro.
Yeah, he's gonna fucking gut me. He's gonna because I got it. I asked him. I was like, "So, are you an Oakland fan?" And he just stopped, looked at me dead straight. He's like, "Who the fuck you talking to?" Fred, I'm a 49ers fan.
I just thought it was hilarious that when he started the podcast, he was cool business guy, chilling, pushing his brand, and then at the end he was like, I'm going to the fucking studio right now. It was so good. It was so lovely, man. It was so heartwarming to hear his the transformation of whiskey business guy to I can't wait to go create some music. It was really cool. Cool. I love that.
His whiskey's good. His tequila's good. I mean, that guy doesn't get enough credit, in my opinion, for his spirits acumen, his business acumen.
He's I loved it, man. I thought it was really cool. But you have so many cool people, dude. It's a great podcast, and I'm honored to be a part of it.
I appreciate that. And I'm a fan of yours. Been a big fan of yours. Like I said, your music helped me get out of a stuck period. So I think that's. I'm excited to add you to the library of guests. Yeah, man. It is time now, though, Amos. You got to choose. What's your favorite?
Champion.
What's your champion?
I gotta say, I gotta go big boy C. I gotta go big boy C.
Going big. Larceny is the champion for Amos Lee. All right. Yeah. But like you said, drink too much of it, you might end up in another town. So be careful.
Yeah, no. My champion wins one ring. That's it. It's done.
Well, hey man, thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
it's really great to hang for what is now becoming an hour and 40 minutes. I mean, Woo! Good times, my friend. Good times. But
yeah, man, lots of love, dude. Yeah, you're awesome, dude. I hope to see you in Louisville sometime.
Yeah, well, hit me up. Hit me up when you're in town, and we'll take you to some nice places, and even maybe crack open a few barrels at a couple of distilleries, and drink some whiskey.
I would love that. I would love that.
Awesome, man. Well, cheers, my friend.
Cheers to you, my brother. I'm gonna drink one Philly style for you.
Oh, Philly style. The Michter's straight out of the bottle. Boom.
You're the best, dude. Thank you.
Cheers.
Delish.